Hi, my name is Michael. This is The Slice, and in today's episode, we're interviewing Debi Ondrova. Hello and welcome to today's episode with Debi. I'm really excited about this one because I think there's a lot of things that me and Debi will have in common. Debi, are you excited about today's episode?
Absolutely. Slightly terrified, but as well
That's
excited.
absolutely normal. I think that's just talking to me in general. I've got a 20-minute timer and I'm going to start it and we're going to talk for 20 minutes. And when the timer goes off, that's it. End of the episode. How does that sound? Does that sound good?
Ace.
Right, the timer has started. So, Debi, first of all, tell me a little bit about yourself.
So a little bit about myself. From my accent, it's obvious. Me no English. I come from Slovakia, and I came to UK via Australia. So I spent 11
Oh,
years
right,
in
okay.
Sydney. So and then I landed in Bournemouth, where my brother lived.
Yeah.
And met my husband, and my friend was from Australia. Went back to Chester, and that's how I ended up in beautiful Chester. Joined her clinic, so I'm a bit of a globetrotter, and I'll see what happens where I'm next. So I don't know if this is it or not, because looking at my track record. So I travel. Always wanted to. I'm old enough to be born in socialism, so
Yeah,
wanted to travel and live in different cultures as opposed to just travel as a tourist.
that's cool.
So I'm a traveler. So and what I do to have this kind of lifestyle, I needed to be, and I always wanted to be independent. I tried having a job a few times. It didn't work.
I did
I
that. Didn't work for me either.
yeah, just one of these things that my happy place is not being told what to do.
No,
I'm not good,
no.
not, not good with that.
I
Yeah,
think this is why more and more people are going self-employed, to be honest.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And as well, dealing with less than healthy workplaces, I help others deal with that. That's why also often people come and see me because of the damage the modern Western workplace, the pressures it put. But I used to be something that people shocks. I have a 1.5 master degree,
Oh,
and
right,
my
okay.
master. Yeah, so they are surprised because they think, "Oh, you're a massage lady." I was like, "Yeah, a bit more than that." Um, I was originally a foreign affairs journalist, so I have a master's in journalism, English lit, and teaching. And so when I went to Australia and started touching naked strangers as my
As you
marketing,
do, it's a perfectly normal thing.
I lost. They thought I lost the plot because I used to travel with Slovak government representatives around EU, trying to get my country into European Union, which is now you're trying to get out. So I'm kind of looking at what's happening, and I'm just like, oh, been there, done that. It's just the other side. And yeah, and I'm a journalist who is avoiding news most of the time because I've seen from the inside how damaging and how information can be manipulated, and that everyone has an agenda and what you're allowed and not allowed to say. And all I ever wanted was to help people. And when I was a teenager and had to decide what I'm going to study, I didn't know how, and I kind of could write.
Yeah.
Dobby, so it's like, oh, perfect, and I just got in and was quite good at it, but I realized that nothing I ever written ever helped anyone. And so 3 years into dealing with bullshisms of the day, that's how old when I was up to uni. Yeah, and I was done. So then reinvent, because I always touch. That's another thing. Like this wasn't random. I always helped
Yeah.
and massage since I was a kid. helping mom with her bed back and friends, but it wasn't a proper job in my family. So it wasn't random. I just found out. And in my country as well, there were two things. The massage requalification course cost me more than my professional salary. And it was 2 weeks. And that's it. And off you go. And I was like, oh yeah, you learn anatomy when you get out there. And you go like, oh my goodness. So I'm really happy that I didn't start there. And plus the other fun stuff was that in Slovakia, prostitution was illegal back then. So all the brothels advertised as massage salons.
Yeah.
So when I went and actually trained in therapies, people thought I'm doing slightly something different. And my parents weren't as proud for quite a while.
Hopefully you've had that conversation. You've explained exactly what it is you do.
Yes, It took around 10 years. So I kind of stayed in Sydney safely.
Better late than never. Better late than never.
Yes, and then so what happened? Like people come and visit their children living in Australia, and they would end up after 2 days flying through whatever, and I would treat my friends' friends and parents, and they would travel back to Slovakia. And when I would rock up visiting my family, they would travel across the country to have a treatment with me, and then my parents. Oh, you're so lucky to have such a daughter. I'm like, oh, okay. And then they kind of got it. But my mom, I think a good 10 years, and she was trying, she would send me the advertising for journalists in Brussels. So we want to like, oh, if just why you completely wasted your uni, and she couldn't understand that. Yes, I take information and I still educate. Put it into a different context, into therapeutic context. So and I was like, oh, if you're so hung up on journalism and in Brussels, like off you go. It's your dream, not mine. So and now I have a massage set up in my home, and my parents are treating. My dad now thinks I can. I used to say, oh my God, he's completely insane. Now I think I'm the best because he thinks I can fix him over Skype. That's what we used way back.
Wow. Well, that is something to put on your business cards, I think. If people are flying all over the world just to come and have a session, I mean, that does speak volumes, really, of service that you.
They had session because I was there, so they would recommend it. Their backs. I would come and see Debi, I would do matrix and all that. But then they would come back when they found out I was in a country.
Right.
So they did, I'm not that famous yet, but hopefully.
Yet is the important part there. Yet.
I know.
Don't limit yourself. You can achieve anything you want to achieve. So talk to me a little bit about the kind of clients that you have, the kind of problems that you're faced with on a regular basis, and how you fix those problems.
Yeah, so that's a great idea, because whenever I'm trying to figure out my niche, which everyone's like, oh, you have to have a niche. And I was like, well, my niche is people who are usually tried lots of other things and they still have a problem. And then they are kind of resigned enough to give a go, crazy Slavic lady. So what I work is work with the focus on the connective tissue, fascia, which a few years ago became a very sexy topic in therapies. And now it's just like, when I started working with it in 2004, it wasn't even an organ. Now it's one of the coolest organs in the body, and they're just still discovering in last decade what it does. And so it's beyond the muscles. Oftentimes what people have, they get a very local treatment. So let's say your shoulder is hurting you, and so you get people rub your shoulders. But the problem, fascia is the continuum, and basically we are sex within sex within sex. How we start with the embryo, we just grow larger, and that structure stays. It's a bit more differentiated than embryo, but the natural is there. And so when you start looking at the body as a continuum, you realize that the site of the pain, I call it, is usually last train stop. So if you can see and the cool about fascial lines, so they are sometimes correlating, not always with meridian lines. So if you see like models with lines drawn over the body, that's how it looks, but it's not a line, it's as a continuum. So I would say you cannot bat your eyelid without affecting your toes. You may not feel it.
Never knew that.
Yeah, so, and the continuum, ponder this, it wraps every single muscle fiber, then it wraps few of them together, but it doesn't stop there. It wraps nerves, it wraps blood vessels, it continues and wraps organs, it separates and connects. So that's why it's connected. It connects everything to everything. And
There must be a lot of studying going into that. I mean, it's not just do you feel that what you do is kind of undervalued? Do you think a lot of people don't know how much actually goes into it?
Yeah, so so the perspective is as well, I just you do just the massage, because on the surface it look like I just do something very similar. It feels very different. It's first thing, it's slow, because fascia is vascular, so there is no amount of rubbing. So sports massage, if you're still going for sports massage and just have these frictions and breaking the adhesions, that's so 19th century. So out, get the therapist to update. Sorry, sounds arrogant, but what we know now is that, we can cause more damage. But, road to hell is paid by good intentions. So yeah, it's like I've spent tens of thousands of dollars and pounds on continued updating, because I said fascia research is now driven by it's not by bodywork more than medicine. And we are you constantly updating, because, I follow and study with the best people I can get. So I study with Americans, I study in Australia. In UK, there are schools who fly teachers in. Last week when I talk about embryo, I was on a webinar on embryology, because it relates to my work. When people go like, why? Basically, every time I touch you, I'm treating an embryo, which you don't have to be told. As a client, it might not be interesting, but it's cool for me. And as well, it's not just the study, the clinical study, it's hands-on. So my hands have 16 years of mileage of touching different bodies and sensing where it's at, because then it becomes it's not just a treatment, it becomes an art.
Yeah.
And it's quite intuitive, because you really need to tune into, it's like, to describe how I work is like literally tuning into different channels. Then, right now I'm talking, I'm very in my aware, conscious, probably left brain, the moment I touch, and I'm dyslexic as well. So I really...
Me too. And it's not a bad thing.
Oh, it's a gift. It's a gift. It's, the way we see the world is completely different. And that's how I don't, for example, I don't speak physio, because the moment I start speaking about lateral, medial, and very, very engineering, mechanical look at the model, I completely lose what I'm feeling. So and my clients don't have to then speak, learn this, that bit is important, but they will say like, oh, this feels expanding, and we look at the quality on an embodiment. So as how it feels for them to be in the body, how it feels for them to move it, instead of trying to explain to me the diagnosis, because what does it mean? It's your body, and your experience changes from moment to moment. So that's what I'm taking into. I look for disturbance in the pattern.
How do you on quite a general basis, do you have a lot of people come to see you, say, oh, I've got something wrong with my foot, but actually you diagnose it that it's not the foot, it's their shoulder or their pinky? Is in that situation, do you come across that quite a lot, where someone will come and thinking they know what it is, and then you'll diagnose something else?
All the time. So, because that's how we are trained, and that's how we are thought of, or fix that one muscle, or it's just that bit. And oftentimes people go, oh, I thought it was just this, but it's everything, isn't it? And then they feel it. So that's the whole point for me, is to re-educate them and help you reconnect your body, because then you can course correct as when you're doing the activities that potentially, or holding the postures which are not the most beneficial for you. So I would have clients who would go, oh, it's my shoulder, and I look at the hips are out of balance, so I balance the pelvis, and I was like, you barely touch my shoulder and it's gone. And I just go, yeah, because if I just rub your shoulder, yes, the pain is there, but it's not coming from because you're doing this, you sit with and re-educating. So I'm doing a bit like a detective work. Movement is part of my session. So when I was allowed to touch in person, I do only 90-minute segments, because you walk in, and my trained clients they walk in, they kick off their shoes and socks, and they start walking and talking. So, and I'm watching, And I look at, and then I pause it, and I was like, how does it feel to you? And they're telling me about the day, so they're not self-conscious, because it's kind of like, this is a woman kind of going down, and I'm on the floor, looking at their feet, and I'm looking through the whole of the body, because whatever feels like, it makes no sense to me that you walk into the room, lay flat, I do stuff to you, then you get up and do exactly what you did before you walked in.
Yeah.
So it's their awareness, and that's how we, as well, by walk, we are designed to be able to walk. We, get on our hind legs for advantage of being able to get to the food longer, sitting for prolonged periods of time are not doing us service. We are not redesigned to Homo situs. But that's so the movement, and that's how we gauge, because the way you walk, and then we do it at the end. So I do work physically. Sometimes, I joke that you need to earn the right to lay down on the massage table, because I may be on the floor working on your feet and you're doing small movements already. So I break down a certain movement, and we look at like, okay, so this is like, this needs tweaking. And so we're educating in real time, instead of just me handing you a handout. These are, or look at my YouTube videos, which I haven't uploaded even. So, because everyone has their blind spots, and we're just making people more and more aware of the body. So they are empowered, they change, and we can progress. Because if nothing happens like that, then, I'm just doing session number one.
I think the main thing is it comes down to knowledge is power and understanding. And, I think from what you do, you take, a lot of interest in that education, in that learning, in what you do, which obviously makes you, better within your industry. How have you found this lockdown situation in terms of your business, and how your business has adapted, going online, embracing video, and that sort of thing?
Good question. So I do blend of modalities, and one of the things I'm doing is EFT tapping. I don't know if you heard of it.
I have. Yes, I have heard of it.
People use it to. So I was embracing the online work, and that allows me to work with clients in Australia. And I would love, because one of my dream is to have a kind of practice that can be taken globally, so I can work distantly and then rock up, hang out with my friends, work for a few days. So I kind of, instead of a holiday, it's kind of a business trip, pays for itself. But bodywork part was a bit bigger issue. Like, well, I was like, I need to touch. What do I do with that? And then I had one of the regulars calling me that he had got sad news, and it really affected his body. So I often work with the connection with, there is I call it, I take issues out of tissues. And sometimes there's physical components.
I like that.
Yeah.
You should get that on a t-shirt.
It is my tagline.
I like that. I like that.
Because you cannot disconnect the body. Like, just think about when you're heartbroken, but someone broke your heart. How are you?
That's happened a fair few times in my life. That's why I bought a camper van.
Oh wow! Okay, good. Oh, we'll continue that conversation maybe off the recording.
I think maybe.
And we may free some stories if they are still held, because it depends. What is held in the body is something we weren't able or didn't know how to cope and deal with and let go of. So it can stay. And I find traumas which are 20, 40, sometimes 50 years older. So back to the online work. So my client is elderly, and he sees me fortnightly. We went together through loss of his wife to a terminal illness. And, and that's one of his, so he has health issues. He had massive untreated PTSD as a fireman of many years ago. So there is lots to work with. And and we talk. So I'm one of his contacts. So, people, he comes for therapy, and as well the human contact. And he calls me, and I was like, his mom passed away. And it's like, and his back went that night. And he's like, I'm supposed to organize everything, and I can't even move. Yeah. So he was desperate enough to try Zoom, and we tweaked it. So in the end, he couldn't even sit comfortably. And in the end, he was like, look at this. And he sat down, and all I told him was, look at his movement, tweak body, because he was given homework. And I was like, oh my God, this is not quite what I told you. And I watched him in real time and tweaked it, and I could sit. And then I was like, oh, sit. And then he texted me, oh, I went for a walk. I'm feeling much better. I was like, oh, you couldn't walk for 3 days till you called me. And that gave me idea, okay, I need to pivot. I really need to need to do something because there would be other people like him. But as well, I thought it's a kind of a fluke because he trusts me, placebo effect. And I couldn't quite believe that I can replicate. So I bullied my friends into those sessions, got results. I was like, yeah, but you know me and I know your body. And then a couple of guys from networks who put away seeing me in person became other guinea pigs, and we had to go through that history. I never touched them apart from, social contact, hi, a handshake or a hug. And they gave me, it's on my Facebook page, they gave me wonderful testimonials. And so now I'll be keeping, even when we're allowed from lockdown, I'll be keeping this because of the value and the power of a few movements that are tweaked to you and told how you understand it, as opposed to just blindly following some YouTube video, hoping you're doing good. And I would see people doing something, oh, I didn't show you this, and this is not quite. So yeah, it's. I think it has a great potential, and I'm fully embracing it, and I'll just bring it.
Yeah, and that's the main thing, and I think it's good to see businesses just adapting and changing and going, do you know what? I'm not just going to sit here. I'm actually going to actively go out and do something. That's your timer. Your timer has just gone off. How did you think 20 minutes? Hasn't it just? That's probably the fastest one that we've had so far in my mind. Because I literally just looked down to look, because normally I look down and I'm around 4 minutes. I looked down, you had a minute left, and I went, wow, that has gone absolutely fast. Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, I love what I do. So I kind of forgot about time. I just I wanted to, I just love sharing about, what I do, because when people know that there are possibilities, that it breaks my heart that people are so often told that they're hopeless. That
and they're not.
My profession tells them that there is nothing you can do, and I find it so, I almost feel rage.
Yeah, and I can completely get that, and I think that happens probably more often than not. But thank you very much for coming onto the show. I've really appreciated your time today. If anybody would like to watch any previous episodes, go to youtube.com/TakeTheCakePro, and if you would like to watch any future ones, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon.